Hello, hockey fans. Austin here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the NHL regular season. Yes, it is on the way. About a month and a half from now, every single team will have played at least their home opener. And are you excited? I know I am, but should we be excited? Because does the NHL regular season even matter when it comes to winning a Stanley Cup? In today's video, I am going to be going over the last 20 Stanley Cup champions, so every champion since the 2005-2006 season, or what is known as the salary cap era. And then I'm going to also break down how many of those Stanley Cup champions won their division, and how many of those Stanley Cup champions won the President's Trophy, and whether it even matters. Should we even be excited for the regular season, or should we only be focused on the playoffs? If you like today's video, make sure you hit that like button, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to the channel as we continue to build towards 10,000 subscribers. I am hoping to hit that sometime this season. I have no timetable for it though, but the best way to support the channel is definitely just hitting that like button. It goes a long way. With that out of the way, let's start discussing every Stanley Cup champion since 2005, 2006, and then work our way through history a little bit. All right, folks, let's start breaking things down. Those Carolina Hurricanes in the 2005-2006 season took out my Edmonton Oilers. Did they win their division that season as well? Yes, they did. Did they win the President's Trophy? No, they did not. Moving on to the 06-07 Anaheim Ducks. Did they win their division? Yes, they did. Did they win the President's Trophy? Absolutely not. And you're going to see on the screen, there are not a lot of President's Trophy winners and Stanley Cup winners in the same year. The 07-08 Detroit Red Wings, absolutely stacked. They won their division. They won the President's Trophy, and they absolutely slaughtered the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games. And by slaughtered, I mean, you can look at that and go, hey, 6 games, that's not a slaughter. Well, if you take a look at the shots on goal in every single game, puck possession, advanced stats, Detroit absolutely manhandled Pittsburgh in 07-08. But don't worry, those Pittsburgh Penguins got their revenge the next season in 08-09. Did the Penguins win the division that year? No, they did not. And did they win the President's Trophy? Absolutely not. In the 2009-2010 season, the start of the modern dynasty of the Chicago Blackhawks, did they win their division? Yes, they did. But did they win the President's Trophy? No, they did not. Moving on to the 2010-11 Boston Bruins, did they win their division that season? They absolutely did. They defeated Tampa in 7 games in what was maybe the best conference final of the salary cap era. But did they win the President's Trophy before winning their Stanley Cup? No, they did not. The 2011-2012 LA Kings, did they win their division? No. Did they win the President's Trophy? No. And in fact, the 11-12 Kings at the time were the first 8th seed in professional sports, North American professional sports, I should say, to win a championship. Those LA Kings, the regular season, they didn't win a whole lot. However, their advanced and underlying metrics were very, very strong, and they rode Jonathan Quick through the playoffs. He put up historically good numbers after Tim Thomas had done it just the year before. Now, the 2012-2013 lockout shortened season, those Chicago Blackhawks win another Stanley Cup. They did win the division, and they did win the President's Trophy. I'm pretty sure they only had 7 or 8 regulation losses in their 50-some-odd games that they played in the lockout shortened year. That Chicago Blackhawks team was absolutely stacked. They took out the Boston Bruins in 6 games in the Stanley Cup final. Moving on, the 2013-2014 Los Angeles Kings. Yes, they are back, second time in 4 years. Did they win their division that season? No, they did not. Did they win the President's Trophy? No, they did not. They were not an 8th seed this time, but they did take on the New York Rangers. They defeated them in 5 games to win their 2nd championship in franchise history. And now moving on to the Chicago Blackhawks, once again winning their 3rd Stanley Cup championship in 6 years in 2014-15. They did not win their division that season, and they did not win the President's Trophy, but they did defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games in 2014-15. Next up, the Pittsburgh Penguins almost had a little mini dynasty going here. They won the Stanley Cup in 2015-16 and in 16-17. However, in both of those years, they didn't win their division, and they did not win the President's Trophy. Those two teams were just built around depth, all around talent. They got timely goaltending from Matt Murray, who kind of came out of nowhere as a rookie in 15-16, and then he followed that up in 16-17. And those Pittsburgh Penguins teams, man, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and co., they were not going to be denied at least one more championship. In fact, they got 2 more. Moving on to the 2017-2018 Washington Capitals. Did they win their division that season? Yes, they did. Did they win the President's Trophy? No, they did not. They ended up facing the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup final. That was Vegas's inaugural season, their expansion year, and Vegas went all the way to the Cup final, but their magical Cinderella run ended in 5 games to the Washington Capitals. Devils. Moving on to the 2018-19 season, the St. Louis Blues and Jordan Binnington went on a massive run in the second half of the season. Basically, from January 1st onward, St. Louis was one of the best teams in the entire NHL. Did they win their division, though? No, they did not. And they also did not win the President's Trophy. They ended up taking out the Boston Bruins in 7 games in Boston, which is a very difficult building to play in. The Bruins, despite their regular season success over the years, they've only had one championship to show for it. And I think the 2018-19 season is definitely the one that got away, and even more so than their historic season that they had in 2022-2023. Next up is the Tampa Bay Lightning winning in the 1920 shortened season. I didn't have a division winner or a President's Trophy winner because that was the bubble hockey season. So the NHL season stopped when every team had played about 69 or 70 games in March of 2020. Of course, the whole world kind of stopped around that time. They played bubble hockey in August and September. Tampa won the Stanley Cup, but I am not counting a division or President's Trophy in this tally because I just don't think it would be fair, because every single team was either playing in Edmonton or Toronto. Didn't really count as a division or President's Trophy style season, in my opinion. Now, I do consider the 2020-2021 shortened season a little bit different because there were actual divisions. Teams did get to play a somewhat normal season. You could argue that the Canadian division could be seen as abnormal. You had Vegas and Montreal meet in the conference finals for the Western Conference, or however they had it divvied up. But Tampa did win the Stanley Cup in 2020 and 2021, their second consecutive championship. They defeated Montreal in 5 games. They did not win their division, and they did not win the President's Trophy that year. Next up is the high-flying, high-octane Colorado Avalanche. Did they win their division in 2021-22? Yes, they did. Did they win the President's Trophy? No, they did not. They ended up taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning, who had just made their 3rd consecutive Stanley Cup final. If they had been able to win 3 straight championships, that would have been absolutely incredible and would have cemented those Lightning teams as some of the best in NHL history. Colorado decided, you know what? I have something to say about that. But once again, no President's Trophy. The next season, you had the 2022-2023 Vegas Golden Knights. They ended up defeating the Florida Panthers in 5 games. They manhandled the Florida Panthers. Vegas that season won their division. However, they did not win the President's Trophy. In fact, that President's Trophy went to the Boston Bruins. I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the video, where Boston had a historic season. They finished with an NHL best 135 points, and I don't know if that record is really going to be broken. Even with the NHL regular season poised to go up to 84 games from 82, that was just a magical season for Boston, but the Florida Panthers, who were runner-up 22-23, had no answer. They were decimated by injuries, and Vegas was not going to be denied in their second Stanley Cup Championship final. Of course, they lost their first one to Washington in 17-18, so Vegas decided, you know what? We're back here. We're going to make the best of this moment. Not to be totally outdone, though, those same Florida Panthers who lost to Vegas in 2023, well, they went on to win 2 consecutive championships over the Edmonton Oilers. I don't want to talk about it in depth. Florida won their division in 23-24. They defeated the Oilers in 7 games. They had a 3-0 series lead. Edmonton stormed all the way back in forced game 7, but just could not solve Sergei Bobrovsky in that 7th game. And then this past season, Florida won their 2nd consecutive championship. They did not win their division. They did not win the President's Trophy. The Oilers didn't really have much of an answer in that series. They weren't nearly as good as they were the previous year, in my opinion, and Florida was just even deeper and better. So what does this all mean? Does it really matter if you have regular season success? Well, I broke down the numbers. Division titles, 10 for 19, which is 52.6% teams have won their division. President's Trophies, only 2 out of 19, which is 10.5% of cup-winning teams have won the President's Trophy in the last 20 years. And of course, home ice advantage. Is home ice advantage more important than anything? Apparently it is. Home ice, 13 out of the 19 Stanley Cup champions had home ice advantage. Home ice is key. Winning a President's Trophy is not. Winning a division is a toss-up, 50-50. At the end of the day, though, is the regular season important? Doesn't matter, of course. And I think home ice advantage shows that. I think you do always want to try and have the best record possible and give yourself the best chance against whoever you face in the Stanley Cup final. We all know that the NHL playoffs can be an absolute crapshoot because of just how insane they can be. 7-game series, small sample sizes. You never know who gets hot, who gets cold, who goes on a run. You don't know if there's going to be a random unsung hero that shows up. But at the end of the day, though, I think teams do want to try and win as many games as they can bank as many points as possible, have home ice advantage if they can. That seems to be the formula to winning a Stanley Cup in the modern era. If you ended up enjoying today's video, make sure to hit that like button. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you rather your team just sneak into the playoffs? Would you rather they just make the playoffs? It doesn't really matter where they finish in their division or in the conference and just hope that they can go on a run? Or do you think that it does matter? Do you think teams should be going for President's Trophies and division championships? Keep the discussion going in the comments section below. And as always, fight like a kid, fight like Ben. Let's go Oilers. We'll see you soon. Special shout out to channel members Christy, Nick, Justin, Canadian Ginger, Charles, Epiphany, Maddie Brinks, I'm Just Him, Hannah, Lola, Fleecy U, Danny, Hybrid Hunter, Hab3436, Crux Deluxe, Wayne, Jacob, and Hypnotized Mind. Thank you so much for being members and your continued support. It means the absolute world.